Why did you say yes to speaking with me?
It's a bit of a long story. So I love when people talk about mental health because it makes other people feel seen. But I feel like there's a certain amount of people that just like run straight over the actual point of like talking about it. And they say like, oh, I'm sad, which is great, but also there are so many other emotions to it. And I feel like no one actually talks about it in that way. I'm being quite young and dealing with it and having a lot of friends that are also dealing with similar mental health issues. I feel like I can see quite a lot of people and understand them.
So that's one of the things I was interested in asking you about, actually. If you're seeing any patterns among like people, like you're a bit younger than me, not that much younger than me, but if you're seeing any patterns in like girls your age of like what's cropping up and what's going on at the moment. So when you say you've got friends that are struggling with it, let's do your story. So
But
when did your mental health need begin?
because I don't like patterns.
Okay, well, we'll do that then. Do that.
So I don't like patterns. I don't think anyone is exactly the same as the other. Like, yes, someone might have depression and the other person might have depression, but they're not the same. Like, one person might have it from something really traumatizing in their life, and someone else might just have it and was born with it. Like, they're so different, and nobody fully understands. They might understand the feeling of like depression and depressive episodes and stuff, but they will never fully understand your situation because everyone is so different and everyone deals with it so differently. So I don't like talking about patterns because I don't think it's helpful. And for someone that's in the has been in the situation, when someone says, I know what you're going through, it really pissed me off at the time because I was like, you actually really don't know.
But you understand that obviously they're trying to say that in a helpful way, aren't they? They're trying to create an environment where you feel aligned. So maybe if they don't understand specifically what you're going through, because as you said, like every person's story and situation is individual to them, and that's obviously that's the case in every single person that's ever existed, different in many ways and some similarities. So what was my question was, so you don't like the word patterns. Okay, well, what can I get around the word without using the word patterns? Not really. No. Okay, so we'll go on you then as an individual then. So what is it that you were struggling with?
So I've had the first sign of mental health issues I had was separation anxiety from my mom. And don't get me wrong, I still have it. It's just not as severe. And that grew into more social anxiety. And then that also grew into depression.
And how young were you when you were? Because I have a sort of somewhat of a similar background. The reason why I set up the podcast was because I had a lot of mental health difficulties growing up, and I wanted to speak to people that had other sort of experiences in it and share sort of insights. So I think separation anxiety is pretty common amongst young people. Why do you think it like transmuted into social anxiety?
I got bullied for it. So every time I went to school and my mum left me to go to work or to go and drop off my sister at a different school, I would cry because I didn't want her to leave me because I didn't feel safe without her. And I would get bullied by the other kids for constantly crying, basically, because I missed her. But that just evolved into social anxiety, and I didn't really want to be around people for that long or just too many people.
And then how old are you when that was going on?
Oh, wow. When I first started going to school, so reception to about year 5 or 6, I was crying every day when my mum left me. And the anxiety I still have, but at a much different level than it was.
Okay. And I suppose 20, I remember 20 being quite a pivotal age for me. It was only a few years ago, but I feel like 20 is like really, you should be considered an adult when you're 20, not when you're 18. In my opinion, 18 is a bit young. Okay, so let's talk about some of these questions that I wrote going down. One of the videos that I did see you talking about is you were upset, you were crying about something, and that's obviously not ideal. But the bit at the beginning that I thought was interesting was you said something along the lines of like having a stable routine. So I'm interested in like, has having a bit more of a stable routine, because on the when we spoke on the phone, you said that you'd got a job doing,
Sales.
you were doing something with a drinks company. Yeah, sales. Yeah. So how's that going?
Amazing. I love it.
Do you?
Not one day is the same as the
Yes.
other.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's a good reason. And what does that involve? Like, where do you go?
So I field sales. So I drive around the area going into independently owned businesses, and I basically tell them
Okay.
why they should buy what I'm selling.
Pretty much. And I bet you get a pretty good reaction.
Yeah, I mean it's a easy product to sell, so yeah.
Yeah. What's the
Product really, I don't think it's a good idea to share that on the internet. I don't know their policies on it.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So was there a point when you were like really struggling with mental health, like in early adulthood, or was it only just childhood when you were struggling with anxiety?
No, so the worst time was 14 to 18.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's obviously when you're going through puberty and all those changes are happening, and like the world's just completely changing and your place in the world is changing. So that makes sense. Did it get worse at that? Did it get significantly worse at that point, or was it just a bit worse?
Significantly worse. That's when I got depression.
Okay. Wow. God, that is. What's your opinion on the fact that so many young people now are getting, not even in like young adults, like children and proper young people are getting depression? Why do you think that's happening?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't care why it's happening. I just don't think it should be happening, and it's what we're doing about it that is gonna make the difference. Because the world we live in, at the moment, we don't have the correct support for younger people, including like children. We don't have the correct support for them. We have support for adults or late teenagers, but we don't have the support for younger people.
How do you think we should support younger people better? Any ideas?
I have a few, but I'm not ready to share them.
Okay. Are they quite radical?
They're not radical, but I might act on them, and I don't want anyone on steam.
They're just half-baked.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me have a look at my, I've got a bad question, but I don't want to cross that.
Bad question.
Well, yeah. Bad questions are good. Okay. So how do you feel like you've reached a bit of a turning point? Do you feel like in your life is a bit more stable?
Massively.
And that is because you seem like quite a well put together individual just by talking to you for these last 10 minutes. So where's that come from?
Well, I've had to mature very quickly through my teenage years. And coming out of college and realizing that I need to do something with my life, because I never wanted to go to uni. I was never good with academics. I never liked school. So I realized I needed to do something. And then when I got the job that I'm in at the moment, it really helped because I didn't have the same routine every day, work routine, but I could keep my home routine the same every day. And that was just the stability of knowing that I was waking up, doing this, doing that, going to work, doing whatever in work because they make it for me, and then coming home doing roughly the same thing every night. It just completely eased my mind from any sort of bad, negative thoughts.
Yeah. Going back to one of the things you just said a minute ago about how we support young people and children, we underestimate just how important routine is for like children and how they need way more emotional regulation than we give them credit for and than we understand, and routine does that massively. So yeah, that makes sense that you're finding routine, because we all find routine. But what's important, the sort of nuances behind that, is as much as your life is obviously structured and there's routine to it, as you said earlier, every day is different. So it's a balance between sort of novelty and newness, but then also a consistent routine. Maybe that's one of the reasons why you're finding your job interesting. How has social media been an asset to you, and why did you start sort of moving I know your content isn't entirely. There's a lot of lip singing.
Yeah.
What's that new song that I keep seeing you doing? It's quite good actually. I
That's so
listened to it
true.
before.
Gracie Abrams.
No, it's not that one. It's
Mess-
the other one. Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. That's a good song. I quite like it. All these songs, but I didn't realize that's so true. The bit that you see going around on TikTok is only occurs once. So obviously, the way that these songs are being written is just write a TikTok clip that's going to go viral on TikTok, and then just
Not at all.
what do you mean?
Lyricists don't write things for TikTok. They write it as a bridge, and then the bridge goes viral. So Gracie Abrams wrote that song as that bit that you hear once in the song as a bridge in the song,
Yeah,
but not for TikTok. I don't think any person in their right mind would make a song just for it to go viral on TikTok. Who would do that?
I don't know. I disagree. I think they
Who?
definitely would. I think there would be A&R people going, we need to get the TikTok. That's our best way of going viral.
Yeah.
So we need to write something that caters for the TikTok. Now, how you define something that caters for TikTok is a different question, because I don't know how you would quantify that. But they definitely put that. I'm pretty sure
It's going to be a factor, but they don't write a song purely for the fact that it might blow up on TikTok.
No, I guess not. But
it is a factor.
It's in an egg type situation. But yeah. Anyway, so how do you think, how has social media helped you and not helped you as well? What's your opinion of social media because it's sort of I think about this quite a lot. A few years ago, there was a very strong pull away from social media, and it had quite a negative reputation. People were saying, "Oh, it's false. It's not real. It's damaging, etc., etc." But what we've seen over the last couple of years is that's basically all died, and no one really thinks like that anymore.
Yeah.
It's just sort of been accepted. But what is your opinion of social media?
I think a lot of people are going to say that it doesn't affect them as much anymore because they can all talk about it and stuff. But sorry, my phone's about to die, so I had to put it on charge.
That's all right. No, I was just checking.
A lot of people are going to say that because they can talk about it more. But I think as much as it did before, it's hurting people still. And it's going to keep hurting people because that's just what social media is, being able to see people from across the world, like supermodels, being themselves in reality when actually it's not reality. It's harming, especially for young girls and young boys.
Yeah. Do you think that, because there's interesting opinions on whether or not how harming like unrealistic body images are and stuff. There's, as I said a couple of years ago, there was a big pull, and it's sort of like everything. If these big tech companies just ignore the sort of onslaught that comes their way, eventually people just sort of stop saying it. But there's, like, if you look at magazines and stuff, all magazine covers look the same. They have an attractive woman on the front, and the reason they have an attractive woman on the front is because all the magazines that didn't have attractive women on the front weren't born as effectively, they weren't bought as much as the ones that did have attractive women on the front. The eye contact is very important. So do you think that, because like I keep bringing up the past, but sort of 10 years ago, I can remember when I was like 14, 15, there was an awful lot of talk about how damaging social media was for the female body image. Do you think it's still as damaging? Because you don't hear about it as much nowadays. What's it like for people your age? Not that
I think it's gotten better.
You get what I mean?
It has definitely gotten better, but I think people around like 21, 20, 19, we know that is still not there at all, because you'll see all of these pictures in magazines, Instagram photo shoots, like random places like Vogue, and it will have all the different body types and all different like ethnic backgrounds, but you actually look at the contracts that they sign and like the models sign and see the lawsuits that have been held against them, and they've buried from the public, and realize that actually they have to do that, otherwise they're not going to get any readers or watchers. Or
what do you mean by lawsuits? Because what were they infringing upon?
There was one that sued. There was a model that sued a massive company that I can't actually remember, but she sued for.
Don't say the name
Huh?
anyway. Don't say the
Yeah.
name anyway.
But she sued for basically racism, and the company that hired her basically said, no, look at this document, that's not what happened. And she basically had recorded some people, including the photographer, so it went to shit. But hey ho.
So that's you sort of taking a bit more of an issue with the bureaucracy around modeling as opposed to the actual act of modeling and the potential. But what I'm getting at is, would that imply that you're a fan of something like OnlyFans then? Because in theory, that is like a self-made. Well, I thought that I thought you were implying that the biggest issues with the modeling industry are like discrimination, not the way that it presents body image. Or have I just misinterpreted that?
I would use that as an example.
Use that example.
So that I have heard of people like models, like friends of friends, all of that have actually like admitted to people that the company they were working for had to have a certain body type in order to get the shoot. Like, say, I can't use it without the names. A friend of mine went to a photo shoot casting for a semi-decent brand, like you'd know them from the UK. And she basically got sent away, and she asked why, and one of the people, I don't know what it was like a wardrobe person or something like that, they basically said that you had to be a certain body type and a certain ethnic background to actually get the casting, even though there were loads of people there for the casting.
That's a very EDI affair,
Exactly.